Whenever Metallica posts a new song, I know that you guys want to know about it. So, I'm here to talk about it. We're here to talk about the world premiere. And it's become a world premiere even though it was done just at a concert in Bogata, Colombia last evening. It became a world premiere because everybody who had the camera available who was recording it immediately decided to post it. And I think this was something that Metallica knew was going to happen, considering this was kind of known a couple days in advance that they were going to be premiering a song, and so these people were ready for it. They knew it was coming. The song is entitled The Lords of Summer. Now, whenever I first saw The Lords of Summer, I immediately got like a lot of different flashbacks to The Boys of Summer, The Boys of Fall, which were done by, I think, Bryan Adams and Kenny Chesney, respectively, if I'm remembering my pop music correct. I'm probably not. But it reminds me of those songs just whenever you look at it on paper. But whenever you listen to the track, whenever it starts off, and I'll try to provide a link in the description box that works, but who knows how long these links are going to stay up. The one thing that I start to think about is a couple of different Metallica eras. I think about And Justice for All, especially whenever it comes to the introduction. I also think of the Black Album, which in turn makes me think of Death Magnetic, not to mention it also makes me think about the couple of songs that they released in that 4-track EP just a couple of years ago that I reviewed a couple of them, but not all of them. Hate Train was one of them. I can't even remember. It's been so long. But it reminds me of that same era, almost as though their prospect of thought and their prospect of making music is certainly one that has not changed very much. It's one that they still maintain that this is the style, this is the way in which they want to kind of go with things, at least for this track. Now, I really enjoyed what this track was able to give us. It was something where there was that And Justice for All feel whenever it came to the way in which the verses and the chorus were constructed musically and lyrically. There was definitely a feel of that. However, I also heard with James's singing, I heard kind of a reversion back even further, going all the way back to even eras from like Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, where it seemed like he was projecting a little bit more. This was not one where he needed to employ a soft voice. This was one instead where the harshness factor was certainly one that he was aiming for. And you could also see that a little bit more whenever he does any songs from Saint Anger, which, you know, it happens every so often, but it's something that reminds me a lot of that. That was the kind of in style of a very emotional album where he was able to really release a lot of that anger. So, of course, we got some of the things that we did, even though the album itself is still kind of bad. It still has a lot of, there's a lot of time reference point that you can use as to what he was going through and what the band was going through to understand kind of why some of the compositions felt and sounded the way in which they did. The song itself has a really powerful structure to it, and it's one that may feel a little bit typical for Metallica fans. It may be one where it doesn't seem to be deviating too much. I know that there were some moments where I felt as though they could have even included a little bit of a slight guitar lick just to kind of give it a little bit more of a punch or an edge, and I'm talking a lead as opposed to, you know, just a rhythm. But really, whenever I listened to it the second and third time, that might have been something that was a little bit overambitious. Either that or something that may happen as the song eventually gets put into the can and thrown onto a record. It's hard to tell exactly at this point whether or not this is the song in its completed form that we're going to hear on the next Metallica record, if we hear it on the next Metallica record at all, or if this is one that's still going to be subjected to a lot of changes, revisions, and some polish before we even hear it on the record. Really, at this point in the game, Metallica doesn't even have to release any more records. Metallica is still going to get a ton of press for each new song that they debut. They could essentially do this for the remainder of their careers, and they would be just fine. They would still be relevant. There would still be attention that, you know, would be given toward the band. And as this is proof, you know, all of their concerts still are, you know, places to be. They're still sell-outable concerts. These are not concerts that are going to be left with a lot of empty seats or anything like that. Metallica is still a band that has just viability, and they were going to have viability until the end of their career. You could essentially say that they're almost like the heavy metal Beatles. Now, the song itself also does contain a guitar solo from Kurt near the end of it, and this is one that kind of starts off very slow. It's one that has, it's not going to kind of blow you away initially. It's tonally very precise, and one that needs to kind of expand itself as it continues forward. But the later that you get into the solo, that's whenever a little bit of that old Kirk Hammett really starts to bleed out. And whenever I say the old Kirk Hammett, once again, we're going off of what I said about how this is kind of tailored toward the And Justice for All and Black Album eras. You can hear tones that you would easily be able to pinpoint from songs on those two albums within this solo, which just once again kind of reinvigorates the idea of the timestamp. Overall, the song is about 8 minutes in length. There was a couple of seconds that were given at the right before it to kind of introduce the track, though not much information was given. So this is definitely one that, if this is in its polished form, is going to be a lengthy process. And if this is going to be one that they plan to release as a single, don't be surprised if they release some form of radio edit. Either that, or radio stations may just be willing to play the entire 8-minute version. As far as the song is overall, it's one that I think is pretty good. It's actually giving me a lot of kind of hope for the process that they had for the upcoming album, for those sessions and everything like that. It definitely seems as though we're going to be hearing something that's a little bit more familiar, as opposed to perhaps them going off on a really experimentative route that kind of leads us to getting another Saint Anger. This is also definitely one where you're not going to see, anything musically styled towards Lulu or anything like that, considering that's the last official release, album-wise, that Metallica has been attached to, even though that was a collaboration. I'm also promised by the fact that it seems like all the members are really deeply into this. You can hear that Robert and James are sharing some vocal duties with the chorus. They're doing a little bit of harmonization, which sounds rough on the live version, but you can almost imagine that that's going to be something that's going to be polished up once you get it into print. So overall, I think the song should be taken as a positive. It should be taken as a promising notation of what the future really holds for Metallica and what we might hear from the next album. This is one where there's going to be a lot of people that will probably disagree with that notion and that sentiment, but all I have to say to you guys is, well, why do you think that is? Leave those answers in the comments, and also leave why you like this song in the comments. Do you think that the Injustice for All / Black Album era placement is right, or do you think that that's dead wrong? If so, then where do you think that it should be? Finally, is this something that you hope to see on the new album, or are you hoping that this is just one of those tastes that doesn't make the cut? Let me know in the comments. I want to know what you guys think about this track. Like I said, hopefully the link that's in the description box whenever you view this video works, but if not, it should be something that's easily searchable. Thanks, guys.